When humanity walked out, the galaxy realized what fear really was. The Galactic Senate Chamber was a monument to unity built into the hollow core of a dead moon orbiting the capital world of Centaurus Prime. 500 species had their representatives seated in the vast circular amphitheater, their voices creating a symphony of different languages and sounds that had echoed through these halls for 3,000 years. At the center of it all, on a raised platform that put them above everyone else, sat the High Council, 7 ancient species that claimed to be the founders of galactic civilization. The ethereals, with their floating crystalline bodies that pulsed with inner light. The Dominion, massive insectoid creatures whose chittering filled the air. The Collective, beings of pure energy that spoke through mechanical translators. And there, in the lower rings reserved for junior species, sat 3 humans. Director Sarah Chen adjusted her simple black suit and looked around the chamber with calm eyes. To her left sat Admiral Marcus Webb, a weathered man whose hands bore the scars of a dozen different wars. To her right was Dr. Elena Vasquez, the head of Earth's Science Council, quietly taking notes on her tablet. They were the only humans in a room filled with beings who had ruled the stars since before Earth's sun was born. High Arbiter Zix Thala of the Ethereals began to speak, his crystalline form blazing brighter as his voice rang out across the chamber. We are gathered today to address a matter of grave concern. The species known as humanity has been granted provisional membership in our Galactic Senate for 50 standard years. In that time, they have proven themselves to be problematic. Sarah's expression didn't change, but Admiral Webb's jaw tightened slightly. Dr. Vasquez continued writing. The humans, continued Zixthala, have spread to over 300 star systems. They have established colonies without proper authorization. They have developed technologies without oversight. They have formed alliances without permission. The crystal being's light pulsed with what might have been anger. Most concerning of all, they have begun to question the decisions of this body. A rumble of agreement swept through the chamber. Voices in a dozen different languages expressed their disapproval of human behavior. War Speaker Cleth of the Dominion stood up, his massive insectoid form casting shadows across the chamber. When he spoke, his voice was like grinding stone. 3 months ago, human vessels refused a direct order from Dominion patrol ships. They claimed their cargo was humanitarian aid and that our blockade was illegal under galactic law. They were correct about the law, but that is not the point. Junior species do not correct their elders. More murmurs of agreement filled the air. Hive Mind Unit 7742 of the Collective spoke next, its mechanical translator turning energy patterns into words. Analysis indicates humans have developed faster-than-light communication systems without sharing the technology. Probability suggests they are hiding other advances. This behavior indicates potential future threat status. Sarah Chen finally spoke, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. We developed quantum entanglement communication because our colonies needed to stay in contact across vast distances. We offered to share the technology, but you classified it as potentially destabilizing and forbade its distribution. High Arbiter Zixathala's crystal form flared brighter. You do not have permission to speak. With respect, Sarah replied, standing up slowly, we are members of the Senate. Members have the right to address accusations made against them. Junior members speak when invited, hissed Thara of the Serpentine Empire, her scaled form coiling in her seat. Your species has existed for mere centuries, We have maintained galactic peace for millennia. You will show proper deference." Admiral Webb stood up beside Sarah. "Peace?" he asked quietly. "Is that what you call the Proxima War? The Vegan genocide? The systematic strip mining of the Centauri belt colonies?" The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives from dozens of species began shouting at the humans in languages that ranged from melodic to terrifying. Zixthala raised one crystalline appendage and the chamber fell silent. "Enough. We did not call this session to debate history. We called it to present humanity with a choice." Dr. Vasquez looked up from her tablet for the first time. "What kind of choice?" "The choice between civilization and chaos," replied War Speaker Cleth. "Between order and destruction. Between acceptance and exile." Sarah sat down slowly, her eyes never leaving the High Council. "Explain." Zixthala's form pulsed with satisfaction. "Humanity has proven that it cannot function properly within the established order of galactic society. You are too aggressive, too independent, too quick to challenge authority. Therefore, we offer you two options." The chamber held its breath. Option 1. You accept full oversight of your species. All human colonies will be placed under the direct control of appropriate senior species. All human technology will be reviewed and approved by the Council. All human ships will carry Council observers. All human laws will be subject to Council revision. In exchange, you will be allowed to continue existing under our protection. "And option 2? Admiral Webb asked. Stara's smile revealed rows of needle-sharp teeth. "Exile. Complete severing of all ties with the galactic civilization. No trade, no communication, no aid. You will be restricted to your current territories and forbidden from expanding further. Any human vessel found outside designated boundaries will be destroyed without warning." The three humans looked at each other. Sarah saw something in Webb's eyes that reminded her of storm clouds gathering. Elena's face had gone very still in a way that meant her brilliant mind was working at full speed. "How long do we have to decide?" Sarah asked. 72 standard hours, replied Zixthala. "More than generous for such a simple choice." Sarah stood up again. "We'll need to consult with our government." "Of course," said the High Arbiter, his crystalline form practically glowing with smugness. "Though the outcome is quite obvious. No species can survive alone in the galaxy. You will accept our guidance, as all others have before you." The three humans gathered their materials and walked toward the exit. As they passed through the rings of seated delegates, Sarah could hear whispered conversations in dozens of languages. Words like inevitable and finally and about time followed them all the way to the door. What none of the assembled species noticed was that not one of the humans looked worried as they left. The human embassy on Centaurus Prime was a modest building compared to the towering spires that housed other species' diplomatic missions. 3 stories of simple steel and glass, it looked almost humble next to the crystal palaces and biomechanical monuments that surrounded it. In the secure conference room on the top floor, Sarah Chen activated a small device that looked like a normal datapad. A soft blue field surrounded the room, ensuring their conversation would remain private. "So," she said, settling into her chair, "that went exactly as expected." Admiral Webb snorted. "Did you see their faces? They think they cornered a mouse?" Dr. Vasquez was already pulling up files on her tablet. "Project Exodus is ready for implementation. All colonial governors have been briefed. All fleet commanders know their orders. All research stations have completed their preparations." Sarah looked out the window at the sprawling cityscape of Centaurus Prime. Millions of beings from hundreds of species went about their daily lives, completely unaware that their galaxy was about to change forever. Elena, what's our current technological advantage? Significant, Dr. Vasquez replied without hesitation. The quantum communication network they're worried about is just the beginning. Dr. Patel's team cracked faster-than-light travel 18 months ago. Dr. Kim's group has developed shield technology that makes their best defenses look like paper. Dr. Rodriguez figured out how to weaponize dark matter. They don't know any of this? They stopped paying attention to human research after they classified us as junior species, Elena said with a slight smile. They review our reports, but only to make sure we're not developing anything dangerous. They never actually read them. Admiral Webb pulled up his own set of files. Fleet positions. Admiral Harrison's task force finished deploying around the ethereal home systems yesterday, he reported. Admiral Lopez has her ships in position near Dominion space. Admiral Thompson is watching the collective core worlds. Every major council species has human vessels within striking distance of their most important assets. How long have they been in position? Sarah asked. 6 months, Webb replied. We've been rotating them through routine patrol patterns and training exercises. The Council's own intelligence services filed reports saying our fleet movements were random and inefficient. Sarah almost smiled at that. And our colonies? Every human settlement has been fortified according to Plan Omega, Webb continued. What look like civilian habitats are actually military strongholds. What appear to be research stations are forward operating bases. The farming world of New Eden alone has enough firepower to stop a full fleet assault. Dr. Vasquez looked up from her calculations. The Council believes they're dealing with a species of approximately 2 billion individuals spread across 300 systems with minimal industrial capacity. What are the real numbers? Sarah asked. 12 billion humans across 800 systems with industrial output that exceeds the next 5 species combined, Elena replied. The hidden colonies have been producing ships and equipment for 3 years. The Tau Ceti shipyards alone are building more vessels per month than the entire Dominion fleet. Admiral Webb leaned back in his chair. They made one fatal mistake. They assumed that because we asked polite questions and followed their rules, we were weak. They never realized we were studying them. Captain Martinez spent 2 years touring ethereal military facilities, Sarah noted. They thought he was just an enthusiastic tourist interested in their glorious history. Commander Singh attended their naval academies, Webb added. They were so proud to show off to the primitive human that they gave her access to classified tactical manuals. Dr. Chen, no relation, worked with their research teams for 18 months, Elena said. They shared their most advanced theories with her because they enjoyed feeling superior to a less developed science. The room fell quiet for a moment as the 3 humans contemplated what they had accomplished. For 5 decades, humanity had appeared to be exactly what the Council expected. Grateful junior members who asked lots of questions and followed all the rules. In reality, they had conducted the most comprehensive intelligence operation in galactic history. There's something else, Admiral Webb said quietly. Something the Council doesn't know about. The defense grid? Sarah asked. Webb nodded. Completed last month. Every inhabited human world, every industrial facility, every research station, every mining operation is now protected by automated defensive systems. If the Council decides to make good on their threat to destroy human vessels outside designated boundaries, they're going to get a very unpleasant surprise. Dr. Vasquez pulled up a star chart showing human space. Red dots marked defensive installations that didn't officially exist. The grid uses quantum entanglement targeting systems. Any hostile ship that enters human space will be engaged by weapons platforms they can't detect using technology they don't understand. How effective is it? Sarah asked. We ran simulations using their most advanced warships, Elena replied. Average survival time in human space for hostile vessels would be approximately 4 minutes. Sarah stood up and walked to the window again. Below, the city continued its normal rhythm. Beings who had never questioned the Council's authority went about their lives, secure in the knowledge that the natural order of the galaxy was unchanging. In 72 hours, we go back to that chamber and give them our answer, she said. And if they choose war? Webb asked. Sarah's reflection in the window showed eyes as cold as the void between stars. Then they'll learn what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness. 68 hours later, every major news network in the galaxy was broadcasting the same image: 3 humans walking back into the Galactic Senate chamber. But something was different this time. Sarah Chen, Admiral Webb, and Dr. Vasquez moved with the calm confidence of people who held all the cards. High Arbiter Zixthala's crystalline form blazed with anticipation as the humans took their seats. "Welcome back," he said, his voice carrying across the vast chamber. "We trust you have had sufficient time to make the correct choice." War Speaker Cleth's massive form leaned forward. "Surely even humans can see the wisdom of accepting guidance from their betters." Sithara's forked tongue flicked out as she tasted the air. The fear scent is strong with them. They know they are beaten. Sarah Chen stood up slowly. The chamber fell silent as 500 species waited to hear humanity's surrender. "We have indeed reached a decision," she said clearly. "After extensive consultation with our government and careful consideration of your generous offer, humanity's answer is this." She paused, looking around the chamber at the assembled representatives of galactic civilization. "No." The word hung in the air like a nuclear explosion. For a moment, no one moved, no one spoke. The absolute silence stretched on until it became physically uncomfortable. Then the chamber erupted in chaos. "Impossible!" roared War Speaker Cleth, his massive form rising from his seat. "They cannot refuse," hissed Sithara. Voices in dozens of languages began shouting at once. Some species seemed confused, others enraged, still others terrified at the unprecedented act of defiance. High Arbiter Zixathala raised a crystalline appendage, and the chamber slowly fell silent. When he spoke, his voice was colder than the space between galaxies. "You cannot say no. This is not a negotiation. This is reality. You are one small species surrounded by 500 others. You have no choice." Admiral Webb stood up beside Sarah. "We are not surrounded," he said quietly. "We are positioned." Before anyone could ask what that meant, every screen in the chamber came alive. The first image showed the ethereal homeworld of Luxandros, its crystal cities gleaming in the light of twin suns. But the space around the planet was no longer empty. 30 human warships hung in perfect formation, their dark hulls reflecting starlight like mirrors of death. The second screen showed the Dominion capital world of Hivadak, its surface covered in the massive structures of the insectoid empire. Human vessels surrounded the planet like a necklace of doom, their weapons trained on the population centers below. Screen after screen lit up, each showing the same impossible sight. Human fleets in position around every major council world, every strategic system, every center of power and authority. Ships that had appeared from nowhere, positioned with mathematical precision, waiting with infinite patience. "Impossible," whispered the collective representative. "Our sensors would have detected such a massive fleet movement." Your sensors did detect us, Dr. Vasquez said, standing up to join her colleagues. You just classified our ships as merchant vessels and research platforms. Captain Williams sends his regards from the ethereal system. Commander Jackson says hello from Dominion Space. Admiral Chen is enjoying the view of your collective core worlds. War Speaker Cleth's voice was barely controlled rage. How long have you been there? Long enough, Sarah replied. Long enough to study your defenses. Long enough to map your infrastructure. Long enough to position ourselves exactly where we need to be. High Arbiter Zixathala's form was flickering now, his crystalline structure showing hairline cracks. What do you want? Sarah's smile was colder than an ice moon. We want you to understand something very important. Humanity did not come to this galaxy to be your subjects. We did not ask for your protection. We did not beg for your guidance. We offered friendship and cooperation, but you decided we needed to be controlled. She gestured to the screens around the chamber. These are the consequences of that decision. Admiral Webb stepped forward. Effective immediately, humanity is withdrawing from the Galactic Senate. We reject your authority over our species. We will establish our own government, make our own laws, and defend our own interests. You cannot leave, shrieked Stara. The Senate is eternal. No species has ever been strong enough, Dr. Vasquez interrupted. The screens changed again, this time showing human space. What the Council had thought were scattered agricultural colonies were revealing their true nature. Massive industrial complexes rose from underground bunkers. Orbital platforms that had been disguised as research stations deployed weapon systems that dwarfed anything in the Council's arsenal. For 50 years you watched us and learned nothing, Sarah continued. You saw curious explorers and didn't notice they were intelligence operatives. You saw grateful students and missed the fact that they were copying your technology. You saw scattered colonies and never realized we were building an empire. A new voice cut through the chaos. It came from the chamber's communication system, broadcast from one of the human ships surrounding the ethereal homeworld. This is Admiral Harrison of the Terran Defense Fleet, the voice said calmly. To all Council forces in ethereal space, you are ordered to power down your weapons and withdraw to minimum safe distance. Any aggressive action will be met with immediate and overwhelming force. Similar announcements began coming from the human fleets throughout Council space. Calm, professional voices delivering ultimatums to species that had never been challenged before. High Arbiter Zixathala's crystalline form was now flickering so rapidly it was hard to look at. You are threatening the entire galaxy. We are securing our independence, Sarah corrected. There is a difference. War Speaker Cleth was studying tactical displays that showed human fleet positions. What he saw made his blood run cold. These formations. Every approach route is blocked. Every defense grid is neutralized. Every escape vector is covered. You wanted to know what humanity learned during our time in your Senate, Admiral Webb said. We learned how you think. We learned how you fight. We learned your weaknesses. Dr. Vasquez activated her tablet, and new data appeared on the chamber's screens. We also learned that your technology hasn't advanced significantly in 2,000 years. You became complacent. We did not. The displays showed comparative analyses of Council versus human technology. In every category, weapons, shields, propulsion, sensors, human systems were generations ahead. Our ships are faster than yours, Elena continued. Our weapons are more powerful. Our defenses are stronger. Most importantly, our tactics are more flexible. You fight the same way you have for millennia. We adapt. Sithara was frantically trying to contact her government. The response she received drained the color from her scales. The human fleet They're broadcasting something on all frequencies. Throughout the galaxy, on every world, every station, every ship, the same message was being received. Sarah Chen's image appeared on billions of screens as she spoke directly to the citizens of galactic civilization. "People of the galaxy," she began. "This is Director Sarah Chen of the Terran Federation. For 50 years, humanity has been a member of your Galactic Senate. Today we are walking away." The camera pulled back to show the Senate chamber, with hundreds of alien delegates, staring in shock and horror at the screens showing human fleets. "Your leaders demanded that we submit to their authority or face exile from galactic civilization. They believed they could force us to choose between slavery and isolation. They were wrong." Sarah's voice carried across space to reach species that had never imagined anyone could challenge the Council's power. "We choose a third option. We choose independence. We choose freedom. We choose to determine our own destiny among the stars." The broadcast switched to show human colonies throughout the galaxy. What had appeared to be simple settlements were transforming before everyone's eyes. Cities rose from underground bunkers. Orbital platforms deployed military hardware. Defensive systems came online around every human world. "For half a century, we have prepared for this moment," Sarah continued. "While you saw grateful junior members following your rules, we were building an empire. While you saw primitive explorers asking innocent questions, we were gathering intelligence. While you saw scattered colonies struggling to survive, we were positioning ourselves strategically throughout your space." The view changed to show the Earth from orbit, but it was not the same Earth the Council remembered. Massive space elevators reached toward the stars. Orbital habitats surrounded the planet like a shell of light. The birth world of humanity had become a fortress that could defend itself against any threat. "We did not want this confrontation," Sarah said, her voice carrying the weight of an entire species behind it. "We offered cooperation and received condescension. We offered friendship and received threats. We offered partnership and were told to become pets." Admiral Webb appeared on the screen beside her. "To all Council forces currently moving toward human space, turn back. Our defensive systems are online and fully operational. Any vessel that enters our territory with hostile intent will be destroyed without warning." As if to demonstrate, the broadcast showed a Dominion patrol ship that had tried to test human defenses around the colony world of New Sparta. Where the ship had been, there was now only empty space and a debris field that was already being cleaned up by automated systems. Dr. Vasquez joined them on screen. "To the scientific community, we are not your enemies. Human space will remain open to peaceful research missions and cultural exchanges. We seek knowledge and friendship with all species who approach us as equals." "But," Sarah continued, "to those who would seek to impose their will upon us, who would demand our submission, who would treat us as children to be guided by their ancient wisdom, we have this message." The camera focused on her face, and her eyes were as hard as diamond. "Test us." The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. In the Senate chamber, 500 species sat in shock as the reality of their situation became clear. The humans had not simply rejected Council authority, they had made it irrelevant. 3 people had walked into the chamber as representatives of a junior species and walked out as the founders of a new galactic power. High Arbiter Zix Thala tried one last time to assert control. "You cannot simply declare independence. The Council will never recognize the Council," Admiral Webb interrupted, "is welcome to try stopping us." With that, the 3 humans gathered their materials and walked toward the exit. As they reached the door, Sarah paused and looked back at the assembled representatives of galactic civilization. Oh, and one more thing, she said casually. You might want to check with your governments. I believe they have some urgent communications waiting for them. The door closed behind the humans with a soft whisper, leaving 500 species to contemplate a galaxy that had just been turned upside down. Within hours, reports flooded in from across Council space. Human fleets had not only surrounded major worlds, they had established communication with planetary governments, offering direct diplomatic contact that bypassed the Senate entirely. On ethereal worlds, human ambassadors were presenting trade agreements that offered advanced technology in exchange for cultural exchanges. On Dominion colonies, human representatives were providing medical aid to civilian populations affected by the Council's recent military campaigns. On collective installations, human scientists were sharing research that could revolutionize energy production. The message was clear. Humanity was not interested in conquest or domination. They wanted partnership, but partnership between equals, not the paternalistic relationship the Council had demanded. Some species began to question whether the ancient wisdom of the Council was really as wise as they had been told. Others wondered what other advances humanity had achieved while the Council dismissed them as primitive. Still others began to ask why they needed the Council's permission to trade with humans who offered better technology and fairer terms. In the Senate chamber, the remaining delegates faced a reality that would have been unthinkable just days before. They were no longer the supreme authority in the galaxy. A species they had dismissed as children had quietly, patiently, brilliantly removed them from power without firing a shot. High Arbiter Zixthala's crystalline form had dimmed to barely a glow. What do we do now? War Speaker Cleth was studying intelligence reports that painted an increasingly clear picture of humanity's true capabilities. Now, he said quietly, we learn to live in a galaxy where we are not the dominant power. The age of Council supremacy was over. The age of human independence had begun. And across the galaxy, billions of beings were discovering that sometimes the youngest voice in the room is the one that speaks the most truth. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy through force or fear. They had simply proven that no one, no matter how ancient, how powerful, or how proud, had the right to determine another species' destiny. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if celebrating the arrival of a people who would never again ask permission to reach for them.